Congratulations! We are coming up to the midway point of this class. Unit 4 will be wrapping up tomorrow, and many of you have already started on Unit 5. So I wanted to make sure to give you guys an announcement on a couple of the assignments that you'll find in Unit 5 because they are a little different than past assignments that we have done in this class.
Unit 5, it's about business and labor. You'll be completing 2 assignments for me, as well as your typical quiz and test. But the first assignment in Lesson 3 is a 35-point assignment. So it is a rather large assignment, and I want to make sure that you understand the requirements for it before submitting it. You will be creating a PowerPoint, and it's on entrepreneurship. So I'm going to just go down to Lesson 3 and go over it with you here. So obviously you're going to go through all the content up until this point, but here's your assignment. So Unit 5, Assignment 1 is called Entrepreneurship. Do you have what it takes? So what you want to make sure you're doing for this assignment is read through the directions carefully. You want to make sure that you're reading through so you understand them. You're actually going to be creating a PowerPoint for me by creating a hypothetical business. Your business can be something of a service, or it can be a product. It's something that you need to come up with yourself. Be creative. It could be something that you've always thought would be really neat if you had something that was like this, or maybe it's a business idea that you've always thought that maybe when you get older you'd want to do, or maybe it's something that in high school you're hoping to start a small little business. So do something that interests you. So what you'll be doing is you'll be creating this PowerPoint, and you'll have several slides, and here it's kind of broken down slightly by slide. You could do more than this many slides, but this is kind of a good guide to go off of. So you're going to have your introduction slide. You want to make sure that you have your product name on there. You could have just an introduction slide that has your name and the product name, and then the next slide can have the rest of this information on it if that's what you prefer to do. So you'll have a description of your product or service. You're going to tell me what your target market is. So is it going to be adults? Is it teenagers? Is it a certain gender? Whatever the target market may be. And then you have to have a name for your company. So describing the product or the service and then coming up with a name. The next slide, you need to identify what type of an organization your company is going to be. And this is all taught to you in this unit, so make sure that you're understanding what different organizational types are in there. Next, you're going to identify the market structure that you want to compete in. So this, again, can be found in this unit. So it's like monopoly, oligopoly. Those are some different types of market structures that you could put on there. You're going to identify the factors of production that you'll need to create this product or service. So your labor, your capital, and so forth. This can be found in Unit 1. And then you do have to do some research, and this is probably going to be the bulk of the assignment for you. So you're going to need to see the cost of your service or your product. So if you're making up a product, then you're obviously going to need to look at similar products and maybe their costs. Or if you're doing a service, again, you're going to look at similar ones. If it's something that's just really far out there, then you're going to try to come up with a realistic cost of how much it would be for you to produce this. Then you're going to set a price. So what you're going to sell this to your target market. And then if they're going to be willing to buy it at that price. And then make sure you're comparing your product to products that are out there. So even if it's something that you've completely made up, there's something that's probably similar to it. So you want to make sure that you're comparing it. And how is it set apart from those other products? You do have to do a short survey, so you should have at least 20 people in your survey. And you're not turning in this data to me, but you want to make sure that you're collecting it so that you can put it into your PowerPoint. So with these different people, and it needs to be those in your target market, you want to make sure that you're explaining what your product is, tell them what their price is, get their opinions on the price, get their opinions on the product or the service, explain how you think it's better or different than other products that are out there. You could even ask them what you should do differently to make this product better. And then anything else that you think that your market needs to know, make sure that you're discussing it with them. And then you'll have a conclusion slide telling me, do you think this is really a good idea that you can go forward with, or do you think that it would be very difficult because maybe it requires a lot of upfront capital, whatever it may be. So you need to have a conclusion. So those are the basics of the assignment. Then there's a rubric that I will be going off of to grade you. And that's what I want to make sure that you look at as well. So you go through all the directions, make sure you put those in your PowerPoint, then go through the rubric just to make sure that you've touched everything. When you're going through the rubric, I highly advise you to look at this column where it's 5 points, so you're getting full credit. So again, you're going to read through, these are pretty much from the directions. So the introduction, that you're staying on topic, that you have all the details from the assignment in it. The transitions are just making sure that your PowerPoint flows from slide to slide. The language, make sure that you're using some of the vocabulary that we learned in this unit. So obviously when you're talking about the market structure or the type of company you're going to have, if it's a partnership, you're using the right terms. Make sure your grammar is correct, your spelling, everything like that. Make sure that it's very clear, you have punctuation. And in this one, you don't see in the directions, so that's why you want to make sure you're looking at the rubric. You want to use graphics in it, so make sure that they pertain to your product in some way. They're not just a random picture that you're putting on there. You need to have at least 4 graphics in there or some type of multimedia in there. And then your conclusion. So again, make sure you're checking the rubric as well as the directions for the assignment. Okay, also in Unit 5, you're going to find an assignment in Lesson 4. And this is about labor unions. So again, you want to make sure you're reading the directions here. You're going to find an article about labor unions. So these are some websites that you can find those. You can Google labor unions. Make sure it's something that is current and not something that's really outdated. You'll start by providing a short summary of your article just in 1 paragraph. So make sure that you read through your entire article and completely summarize it in your own words in that 1 paragraph. In the second paragraph, you're going to discuss how the article relates to what you've learned in this lesson about labor unions. It might be about how labor unions are formed, their collective bargaining, what they actually do in different organizations or businesses. So make sure that you are relating it back to the content that you've already read over. And then you need to make sure that you cite your source. That is very important. Again, this one has a rubric that I will be grading you off of, and you can see that it's at the bottom here. Okay, in this rubric, again, make sure you're looking at the 4 to 5 point range. Start with a summary that's accurate in your own words. I don't want to see a lot of quotes or anything like that from the article. Just have it in your own words. Make sure it's relevant to the lesson. So you need to make sure in that second paragraph, again, you're explaining how it relates to the lesson. You need to cite your source accurately, and you need to make sure that you don't have any grammar or spelling errors or other mechanical errors like punctuation. So make sure you proofread it. I wanted to quickly give you an example of citing the source, and some of you might not be aware of how to do that. So you might want to jot this down to help you out when you're actually completing this assignment. This is MLA format. MLA format is what English teachers use. APA format is what more business teachers use. I just went off of MLA because that's probably what you're going to be using for like your senior project and so forth. So what you want to make sure you start with is the author or the authors. In this one I put multiple authors, but it might just be one. Then in quotes you put the title of the article. Then in italics you put the name of the magazine or the newspaper. Obviously this is going to be probably from an online source, but still we've got New York Times on there, we've got the Washington Post, we've got all kinds of different magazines and newspapers on there, so make sure you write that in italics. The date of the article, and this punctuation is accurate as well, so make sure you're putting periods after these. You'll write web, because that's where most likely you're getting it. If you have a magazine at home that you want to get the article from, you would put print instead of web. The date that you viewed the article. And then nowadays, teachers don't require the URL because you can most likely Google the article and the author and get the right thing. But I do want you to put the URL for this particular assignment, so make sure you put that at the end. Here's an example if you need to have something that's more of an example for you. All right, that is pretty much it on the 2 assignments I wanted to give you clarification on for Unit 5. Again, you're at the midway point. I will be sending out a progress report that's a little different than the typical progress reports that your parents receive. It will have more detail on the assignments that you've completed for the class up until this point. So I will be emailing that out in the next few days to you as well as your parents. Please contact me if you have any questions on anything. Remember, you can go back and edit past assignments as well as tests or quizzes. If it doesn't allow you to submit it again, you need to email it to me or contact me for me to allow another attempt on certain things.